The Elements of Harmony and Savior of Worlds by Arcade Striker JK5. Chapter 19. The party, like all parties, wound down as the day and light faded. Celestia took to the skies once more, making adjustments to the path of the sun before landing. Ponyville citizens wandered back to their homes and businesses, paying homage either to Celestia or Luna before leaving. Mr. Cake, Mrs. Cake, and Pinkie Pie began cleaning up, setting aside dishes and cleaning up trash. They banged the dishes against trash cans before setting them onto the carts for the return trip to Sugar Cube Corner. Celestia approached the cakes and dipped her head low. She patiently waited for them to bow their heads to the ground before speaking. Carrot cake, cupcake, I wish to commend you for such wonderful catering. I shall personally make sure your bakery is well compensated for your efforts today. Carrot cake wiped his brow and dipped his head. Why, thank you, your highness, he said. Cupcake held up a foreleg to her face over her blushing cheeks. Well, very honored. She guessed. She looked at Carrot Cake. We can't take that vacation in Reno. Celestia chuckled slightly. She looked around, looking for a pink blur. Now, where's Pinkie Pie? She was right here a moment ago. She was suddenly stopped as a weight settled on her withers. Her eyes tilted up as the weight moved forward, up her neck and head. Pinkie Pie? She asked, as the pink earth pony appeared in her peripheral vision. How did you get on my back? Pinkie Pie jumped off and landed, twisting in midair so she faced Celestia. She landed with a mild thud and looked up and grinning. Did you like the party? She gasped. You did like the party! She rose up on her hind legs and clapped her hooves together, horseshoes clanking. I am so glad we worked super hard on it for 2 whole days to get everything together! Celestia spoke up. And you did a marvelous job of it, too. She looked at Pinkie Pie, her eyes meeting with the earth ponies. Pinkie, if you could, there's a meeting with Luna, Megan's family, the princess ponies, and the other bearers of the elements. After you help the cakes a bit more, could you please attend? The smile faded away, and her eyes glanced away. We need laughter after the tale of Nightmare Moon is told. Pinkie's mouth formed an O before she nodded furiously, mane bobbing up and down. You can count on me! Celestia smiled at her before running off and trotting away. She approached Queen Rosedust and the other flare ponies as they stood away from the library, close to the main road. Leaving so soon? Rosedust looked up. It's a 2-day journey back to Flooded Providence, she said, her gaze stretching to the road and even further down. Wings or hooves, I have a lot of work to do. Her head whipped around as he looked at Morning Glory as she stood by her husband and son. And I have an old friend to help. Celestia's horn glowed briefly, and a quill and inkwell and scroll appeared, floating in the air. The quill dipped into the inkwell before scribbling across the scroll. After a few minutes, all 3 objects vanished once more. There will be a chariot here in half an hour, she announced. They will take you anywhere you wish to go. Morning Glory's wings glowed briefly as he blinked. Thank you, she said, grunting slightly. She cleared her throat. Sorry, it's been a while since I talked this much, she said, her mouth half curling into a smile. She looked around, eyes focusing on the bouquet of flowers tucked into the sparkling Dawn saddlebags. Can we stop at Huffington, please? I wish to thank that unicorn who gave those to me. Sparkling Dawn leaned over and nuzzled his wife's cheek, giving her a kiss. I'd like to thank her, too. He looked at Rosedust. Please? Rosedust nodded. But of course, I'd like a kind word with her, too. She looked back to Celestia, her neck craning up. I'll be in touch within a week. I do believe it's time for Flooded Providence to once more be represented in the Senate, and to be in contact with Equestria once more. Her eyes shifted. And perhaps Morning Glory can get the help she needs as well. Celestia smiled and blinked, eyes bright. Of course, Rosedust. She knelt down and leaned forward, bowing her head to Rosedust. It's been good to see you, my old friend. I hope the next time isn't as long as before. A rather unladylike snort came from Rosedust. I should hope not. She looked around, her eyes focusing on Luna as she stood with Megan and Mike. I dare say your sister will be needing you, Celestia. She waved her foreleg at Celestia. Now go, shoot! She paused before hopping up onto her hind hooves and wrapping her forelegs around Celestia's neck in a hug. And thank you for coming to see us. There was a pause before Celestia tilted her head, leaning into the hug. Tears flowed freely down her cheeks as Rosedust let go. My pleasure, she whispered. She bowed to Morning Glory, Sparkling Dawn, and Blazing Day before walking over to Luna, Megan, and Mike. The smile fell away as she saw Luna kicking at the dirt, sending clods sailing into the everfree forest. Are you all right? She asked. Luna nickered slightly and tossed her own ethereal mane about. She half closed her eyes, and the mane became more solid in color and shape, settling down against her head and neck. She waited as Twilight and friends wandered over, along with Danielle, Michelle, Molly, and Danny. I might be, but time will tell. A warm smile crossed her lips. A shame I got rid of Mimic's old golden horseshoes, isn't it? A grin crossed Celestia's face for a moment before she shook her head. I don't think so. She glanced over as the Princess Ponies approached. Sparkle in the lead. The quill, inkwell, and a new scroll appeared once more. Princesses, shall I send for a chariot large enough for you all, or separate ones for 2 or 3 apiece? Tiffany spoke up. We are here for Luna. She spread her snow-white wings and jumped up, hovering in the air. She'll need our support for this, I think. Her own personal needs can be met later. Celestia nodded. The quill scribbled over parchment before writing implements disappeared once more. I have them on standby, she said. Her eyes glanced up at Spikoran, even as the great dragon's head dipped down. Spikoran? Spikoran's eyes darted back and forth between Celestia, Luna, Megan, and Minglong. He snorted, spewing smoke from his nostrils. Zorman the Red will need me, he mumbled. Talk has reminded me of Dragon's Nest and what happened there. He raised his arms and claws squeezed together. Never again, Celestia. The bears will never again threaten the dragon clans as long as I am king. He leaned forward, putting his head to the ground, so his left eye stared at Megan. He waited for Molly and Danny to come into view before speaking once more. It warms my heart and soul in ways gems never could to see you 3 once more. It might be some time before my next visit, but mark my words, I will be back to see you again. Megan sighed and wiped her eyes. She walked up to Spikoran's muzzle and spread her arms, hugging as much as she could. I'm so glad to see you again, Spike, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. She stepped away and wiped her red eyes. But you better come back, unless you want the magnate to be angry at you, she said, cracking a tiny smile. Danny rolled up and patted Spikoran. He looked down at the ground, shaking his head. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to catch up on, he said, his voice husky. And the king of the dragon clans can probably get away with a lot of pranks, right? Spikoran chuckled, holding most of his back. on occasion, Danny. Although the clans do a bit more than send me to my room. His eye focused on Molly. Still so silent. Molly's eyes drifted to the ground. She clasped her hinds behind her back and kicked at the dirt. Just not so sure what to say, she mumbled. She shrugged and looked at Megan, then Danny. Sorry, Spike. Just not so sure what to say. Spikoran's left arm stretched out, a single claw snaking right next to Molly and pressing gently against her. Just being here is enough, Molly. He ripped through his arm and straightened up, spreading his wings. He glanced down at Mei Long as she uncoiled herself. Ready? Mei Long slithered around, pausing in front of Megan, Molly, and Danny. It was an honor to meet you. The stories Spikoran told of you were always entertaining. She suddenly stretched out, sailing into the air in a corkscrew. She twisted about, sailing into a holding pattern above the library. Spikoran beat his wings, buffeting the entire area. Magical barriers sprung up around everyone, keeping them on their feet or hooves as Spikoran took to the air. He paused in the air and waved at Megan, Danny, and Molly before turning and flying off, quickly dwindling into a pinpoint. Mike walked up to Megan and slid his arm around her shoulders, hugging her tight. Won't ask if you're all right, he said, keeping his eyes on the dragons as they disappeared, but he sighed. Are you? Megan put her left hand over Mike's hand and squeezed. I am. Oh, thank you. She leaned down against him. I still can't believe Spock is king of dragons! Danny mauled up. He grabbed the wheels of the chairs and moved towards to face Megan. I still remember him surprising me teaming up and introducing April Fool's Day to Dream Valley. He looked to the sky and shook his head. What we did to Hydia that one time at the Volcano Gloom was talked out for years, he said, his arms spreading wide. Molly nodded. Oh, yeah. Or when I brought those books about chemical reactions, and he tried mixing up something for his fire breath. She rubbed her forehead. It took the weather team an hour to put out that fire. She snorted. Good practice for him, though. Luna cleared her throat and unfurled her wings, flapping them and getting everyone's attention. It's time, she said, bowing her head. She looked at Danny. I mentioned Nightmare Moon to you, by accident. Although perhaps on purpose. She trotted forward. It's not too long of a story, but it's one I need to tell you. Danny nodded, keeping his eyes on Luna. Out the Everfree Lane? At her curt nod, he wheeled around and began rolling off, in the direction of the hole at the edge of Everfree Forest. Megan, Molly, Danny, Mike, Danielle, and Michelle following him. The Princess Ponies and the bull-swilling honor guard follow, with Twilight and her friends taking up the rear and Spike on her back. A sudden shout stopped everyone in their tracks. Way to go, dynamite it! An elderly voice croaked out, grabbing their attention as Granny Smith toddled up, forelegs resting on a walker. She paused before Celestia and Luna, bobbing her head. Here, Master Sleeves, mind if I talk to my granddaughter for a minute? Applejack stopped and swung around as Granny Smith walked up to her. She trotted up, eyes narrow. What is it, Granny? She asked, considering her voice. She leaned over past Granny. Where's Apple Bloom? Or Blake Mike could tell us. I can sweet Apple Lakers, Granny Smith replied. She let out a tired side. Well, here's something I gotta tell you all Blake and sweet Apple Lakers. It concerns the magnet. She trotted around Applejack, looking up over at Megan, Dolly, and Molly. Or rather, the woman behind the legend. Megan broke from Mike's side and walked up to Applejack's side. She knelt down in front of Granny Smith, extending a hand. You know of us before today? Granny Smith nodded, eyes unfocused for a moment. Line dates back to Dream Valley, Megan. She looked to Applejack. I better not tell you about this, mostly on account of them. She cleared her throat, coughing slightly. Your parents are going to tell you, but that night in that store took with the key tuck to run with the herd. She looked at Megan. Oh, now I'm wondering, what is key tuck really? Megan caught in her hand. Actually, think key tuck is my home state of Kentucky. She barked out a laugh. I somehow got mixed up in your mythology. She looked up back over her shoulder at Celestia, and we are going to have a long talk about that, young feeling. Daniel snorted. Well, go Mom. Mike cleared his throat. Daniel, not now, he said, admonishing his eldest. Megan bit his lip. Applejack, there was a herd before I arrived, so I'm certain that's where your parents are. She looked to the sky as the horizon began turning a brilliant crimson. They're up there, among endless plains of rivers with crystal blue water. Applejack looked to the ground and sniffed, a single tear rolling down her cheek. On apple trees with the ripest and biggest apples ever? Megan swallowed and reached out, patting her back. As big as my hand. She stood up and bowed to Granny Smith. It was an honor to meet you, Granny Smith. Granny Smith's head bobbled. Same here, kid. She toddled up to Applejack's side and wrapped a foreleg around her neck, pulling her and kissing her granddaughter on the cheek. Now, don't be too loud, you hear? Applejack nodded and returned the hug. I'll behave so, Granny. She broke the embrace and looked to Luna. There's just some pony I gotta be there for. Granny Smith nodded. Gotcha. She waved a foreleg at everyone before turning and walking off, muttering to herself as she went. Megan spun about on her heel and quickly walked up back to Mike's side. She took his hand, and the pair began walking to the outskirts of the town and field. The rest of the group quickly followed the pair. After a few minutes, they reached the edge of Everfree Forest and the hole to space. Everyone clustered together in a tight semicircle. The Princess Ponies and Bushwoolies stood on Luna and Celestia's right, while Twilight, Spike, and the other elements stood off to the Alicorn's left. Finally, Megan and her family stood and sat directly across from them. Luna's horn glowed, and cushions appeared behind everyone. I shall be brief as possible, but no reason for you all to stand on my account. Or mine either, Celestia said, winking. Dash patted her cushion and plopped down, grinning. Almost as comfortable as a cloud. Rarity looked to her own cushion. And it compliments my golden mane so well. She looked to Luna and bowed her head. Thank you ever so much. Megan, Molly, Mike, Danielle, and Michelle all sat down. Thanks, Michelle said. Danielle nodded. Thank you, Princess. Pinkie Pie turned her head around, and suddenly a carton of popcorn popped out of her mane. She put it down between her forelegs and stuck her muzzle to it, chewing wildly, before looking up. What? Applejack's upper lip peeled back. Pinkie Pie, do you mind? The princess is about to speak. Luna shook her head. It is all right, Applejack. Her eyes fixed on Pinkie Pie. As long as she does it quietly, that is. she said, clouds suddenly rolling in. Pinkie Pie nodded. Okie dokie dokie, she said, sticking her muzzle back in, but the noise somehow muted. Saria and Starburst looked up at Luna. If you need anything, we're right here. Luna turned and looked down at the mint green earth pony and nodded. Thank you. She went to Princess Starburst, and then to Sparkle, Tiffany, Primrose, Royal Blue, then to Bush Lilies. Thank you all! She cleared her throat and began speaking, clear and with just enough force to be easily heard by all. It all began at the discourse attack and rampage. Before, the ponies and other equestrian citizens enjoyed the night, staying up late and having festivals. She went to the sky, eyes half closed. Her horn glowed, and the sky turned a deep blue. The stars began twinkling, tiny pinpoints of light. But then the self-styled Lord of Chaos came, scattering equestria's peace and almost destroying our nascent nation. She snorted and stomped a hoof on the ground, cratering the dirt. Luna growled as she looked down at the various ponies, closing up their shops and hurrying home before dusk. She sailed through the sky, landing in the balcony of Paradise Castle, and entering her private chambers. Why are these in such a rush? She groused to the room's other occupant, her older sister and ruler of the day. Celestia glanced up from the couch. She lounged and rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, Luna! The book she was reading closed and floated down to the table in front. It's getting late for every pony. Her jaw shot open, and she yawned, drawing it out as long as possible before rolling her eyes. See? Luna's lips quirked a smile, but it quickly fell away. You're tied to the sun and the heart's natural rhythms, dear sister. Her main changed from solid to a trailing, translucent stream of energy, just as I am, but the other ponies aren't. Her head whipped around as he stared out the window. Megan told us that humans worked and played all hours of the day. All books in the vault sold people and clothes and factories, and shipping done all hours of the day. Why not here? Celestia rose from the couch and tried it over. She extended a wing over Luna's torso in a sisterly embrace. But Equestria isn't Earth, Luna. She looked out the window herself. We're still agrarian, and Earth didn't have discord to deal with. Shadows fell over her eyes. They quickly lifted and she smiled once more. Don't worry, Luna. Every pony still appreciates your night. Luna looked down to the floor. Head still hung as she extended her wing over Celestia. I guess, she mumbled. She stood there as Celestia left, going to her own private chambers. It was some time before she moved. Over the years, ponies remained quiet and inside during the night. My heart was torn apart by jealousy and loneliness. Then, one day, I heard a voice. Luna growled and tossed her head back. Her crown shot off her head, hitting the wall, bouncing off. Her mane flared and brightened. Why won't they come out? She screamed. She stomped the floor tile once more, cracking it. I worked so hard on the stars! The moon! Her wings flared out, and clouds appeared near the ceiling as tears fell over her eyes. Why don't they love me? I love you. Luna whirled around, eyes brightening and her horns seized in energy. Who is there? She cried out. Hoof maidens! Servants! Show thyself! She looked around, stopping as she caught something out of the corner of her eye, near the mirror. She tried it over, head tilting to the side. Wait! Are you like the mirror from Molly's old storybooks? The glass fell over, and a pair of glowing eyes appeared, bright blue in color. I am here, the voice said. I see you, Princess Luna. I see the wondrous work you do on the night, and all the hard work you pour into it. And I am sad. Her eyes turned downward. I wish others saw what I see. Luna blinked. Her mouth turned dry and swallowed. Thank you. I am glad for your kind words. She tried straight up to the mirror. But who are you? An admirer, and perhaps one day a friend. I spoke at length to the voice and the eyes through the night, putting off other duties. Over the next few years, I spent much time speaking to the voice. It grew into a face, head, and neck, a dark reflection of my own visits. And one day, about 9 years after I first heard the voice, it gave me an idea. Why not make it night during the day? Luna paused in her pacing. She went to the mirror. Say what? The image turned to her. Keep the moon in the day. Don't let Celestia hog all the glory, Luna. You are a princess too, after all. Luna's face hardened. I am a princess, as written in Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Also love me and despair. And so I. Luna's voice broke. She shut her eyes and nickered. She gritted her teeth together and opened her eyes once more, only to rear back in shock as she saw Danny sitting there, in the middle of the tight group. Oh! Danny suddenly reached down and up, wrapping his arms around Luna's neck in an embrace. It's all right, he said, his own eyes closed. Megan and Molly rose up and stepped up to Danny's side. They each wrapped an arm around Luna's neck, placing the other arm along Danny's back and hugged tightly. Luna's eyes widened in shock for a moment before her upper lip quivered. A shudder ran through her body. But. Megan, Molly, and Danny eventually broke the embrace. Megan looked at Luna. If it's too much, you don't have to continue. She started to look around. What happened? Sore first to you. Don't throw it at it. Celestia's eyes shifted to Luna. Luna, your voice sounds a little hoarse. She cleared her throat. Perhaps I should finish. A sigh escaped her. You haven't been able to recall all the details of that year anyway, right? Luna blinked and bobbed her head. Very well, Celestia. She waved a foreleg at her older sister. Please, continue. Everyone's eyes focused on the alabaster white alicorn as she drew herself up. She waited for Molly and Megan to sit and for Danny to wheel himself back before speaking. One day, Luna, or something resembling Luna, kept the night sky in place, refusing to lower the moon or send away the stars. And so, a war was fought, culminating in one final battle. Do you think I would stand idly by while others bask in your glorious sunlight? There will only be one princess in Equestria, and that princess shall be me! I'm sorry, I had to do that line. I wanted to do it. The two alicorns circled the dim sky as lightning flashed and winds howled. Celestia stopped in midair as she regarded the warped, twisted version of her sister. Her horn glowed, and a beam of golden air she shot forth, striking her fellow alicorn shields and strobing over it. Luna, for heart's sake! She cried out, tears streaming from her eyes. Please, don't do this! Luna paused. Her eyes flashed as she sneered. I am no longer Luna! She shouted. As I have said, you pathetic fool! My name is Nightmare Moon! Her wings flared out, and her mane and tail floated around her body. As she looked down at the flaming wreckage of Paradise City, where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. The night reigns supreme, Celestia! As it was always meant to do! Celestia stopped in midair, her entire body locking up as she regarded her sister, her mouth in a straight line. Luna? Danny? Megan? Molly? Rose-Dust? Wind Whistler? Do any of these names mean anything to you? Nightmare Moon growled and kicked the air, sending out wind with each hoofbeat. Those ancient names? Ha! They shall be expunged when I rule Equestria, and soon this entire planet! Even the dragon clans themselves shall bow to me! Celestia's eyes fluttered closed. She bowed her head, and 5 pendants and a crown floated up to her. The crown landed on her right in front of her horn, while the 5 pendants floated in front of her head. She stared, half-closed eyes, and the jewels embedded in the crown glowed, shooting a beam of energy out to the pendants. Then I have no choice, she stated. Goodbye, Luna. Celestia reared back before thrusting her head forward. The energy beam from the crown intensified as her horn blazed like a torch. A beam of multicolored magic shot forth from the jewels, striking Nightmare Moon and enveloping her. She bucked and reared, but a vortex appeared behind her. Nightmare Moon's form wavered, becoming diluted. Her eyes met Celestia's once more before they vanished. The moon wavered, and a dark spotted silhouette of a unicorn head in profile appeared. Celestia stared at the moment of eternity before she lowered her head. A final tear dropped from her eyes as the moon lowered and the sun rose. She tucked her wings in, and as the jewels floated down into the ruins of Paradise City, still burning. She touched down the street as a pair of earth ponies clad in the armor of the equestrian armed forces. They bowed their heads as her hooves touched the pavement. Milady, the larger one said, Nightmare Moon has been defeated? Celestia grunted. Yes. she said. The jewels dropped to the ground, and Celestia visibly winced. You will soon find the shadow bolts disappearing. As if for the Earths of minors and majors, coordinate with the dragons sent by the clans to drive them off and back north. She looked around. This feels wrong. The second Earth pony raised his head, bit his lip before speaking. Milady, several unicorns reported their own magic not working properly here. He stopped the ground, and it feels wrong to me. Pray tell, what is happening? Celestia cocked her head to the side. Something is wrong. She turned back to face him, but started as the jewels and crowns suddenly vanished. What? No! The soldier stepped forth back. Your Majesty, the elements of harmony? Celestia looked up once more. I see. So that's my punishment. She looked down to the soldiers. I am no longer in harmony. Therefore, the elements are mine, not mine. She cantered back around and straightened herself up. Follow me! Paradise is still dying. Paradise City is dying. The elements, they've lost their power. Because I've lost my only friend. The wind still howled, crying all throughout the land. Megan wiped her eyes and shuddered. So you were banished into the moon? Luna nodded. Her eyes drifted up to the sky as it darkened and the sun dipped close to the horizon. For 1,000 years. She looked to Applejack, Twilight, and the rest of the elements. Until my sister's faithful student and her friends broke the chains of hatred that bound in my heart. She glanced at Celestia. And my older sister has been cultivating a rather healthy appreciation for the night while I was in the moon, too. Applejack blushed slightly. Twirl nothing, princess. Molly shook her head. Yes, please. She focused on Luna. Are you all right now? She asked, pointing at the ground for emphasis. She glanced at the ponies. Well, I mean, she became Nightmare Moon and the elements of harmony healed her. Tiffany grunted, gaining everyone's attention. We are not so sure it was actually Luna who was Nightmare Moon. She held up a hoof as Luna turned to her. Your memories of those years are spotty at best, young filly, and there are still doubts about what happened. Starburst nodded her head. Agreed, Tiffany. She looked at Luna as well. The point of the moment is this, Luna. You're better. The nightmare is gone, and you've been remorseful over what happened back then. She rose up and walked over, holding out a hoof and touching one of Luna's forelegs. Look to the past, but not so much you're tripped up by the future. Luna bowed her head and smiled across her lips. Wise words, Starburst. She looked into the sky and sighed. The time is late, she said, standing. Luna bowed her head to Megan, Molly, and Danny. Thank you for listening, my old friends. Molly and Megan rose, bowing while Danny leaned forward. The honor is ours, princess, Megan said. She looked to the sky and brow wiggled. My memory is a bit faulty, but isn't there some more to do for the night? She waved her hand around. Some flying and guiding to the moon? Celestia's horn glowed, and a golden beam shot out of the sky. She looked to the princess ponies. Your rides will be here in 10 minutes. She walked up and dropped her head, going down to one foreleg. Thank you, my old friends. The princess ponies each returned a gesture. Thank you, Sparkle said. She looked to Luna. We will be in Canterlot for the gala. Will we see you there? Luna rubbed her chin. I wasn't planning on attending, but with you six there. She stopped the ground, and the area rocked slightly. Of course! Celestia looked to Megan. Speaking of which, Megan, is your family free next Saturday? It's the Grand Galba Gala, one of the most important social events of the year. I would be honored if you could attend. Megan looked to her husband as he sat on his cushion. Honey, I believe you're off next week, she said, winking. Mike snorted and rose, followed by Michelle and Daniel. He bowed at the waist. I'll be honored, he said, smiling. Megan threw her arms around him and kissed him slightly on the mouth. Thanks. She looked at Michelle and Danielle and stepped around them. Oh, well, you two, after your little adventure with the Q Crusaders, I'm not so sure letting you attend this gala is right. Danielle's shoulders slumped as he frowned. Oh, Mom, she cried out. Come on, it wasn't that bad. Michelle nodded furiously. Yeah, it was only a little tree slip. She tucked her head. See, it all lost out in Twilight's bathroom. Danielle rubbed the bridge of her nose before her left arm shot out, hitting Michelle at the upper arm. Not happen! She growled out, glaring daggers at her younger sister. Megan pursed her lips and whistled, getting both the girls' attention. I was mostly kidding when I said that. She looked at Michelle, then Danielle. Mostly them? She paced a bit before them, crossing her arms over her chest. But I want your word that you'll behave yourselves at the event, all right? Both Michelle and Danielle nodded. We will, Mom. I'll promise. Pinkie Pie silly hopped up. Wait! She cried out, trotting over. She raised up on her hind legs and she had to flip at Danielle, then Michelle. You better do a Pinkie promise, just to make sure. Twilight groaned. Pinkie! Pinkie glanced back at her, craning her neck. What? This is important. The two young ladies crossed their chests. Cross our hearts and hope to fly, stick a cupcake in our ass, they both chanted, placing a hand over their right eye. Danielle looked at Megan. How's that, Mom? Megan nodded. Good. She walked over to Molly and Danny. What about you two? She leaned over and let Danny shoulder grinning. Come on, you'll be fun. Danny shrugged. Loud out. Molly, you in? Molly nodded. I'll hear you. She stepped around to Megan's side, placed her forearm around Megan's shoulder, leaning on it. Someone's got to keep you two out of trouble. Chuckles and laughter rang through the field for a minute before Celestia and Luna walked over to Megan, Molly, and Danny. Celestia looked to the three inside. I never thought this day would happen, she whispered. But now, it must end. She looked up to the sky. It is time for dusk, for the day to end and the night begin. Megan stood up and stepped to the alicorns. She hugged Celestia, then Luna. She waited for Manny and Molly to hug the princesses before speaking. We'll be back, her voice said, thick and eyes wet. She motioned to the sky. All right, but now put on a show for us, please. Celestia spread her wings and leapt into the air. She flew up, and up into the sky, turning into a silhouette against the almost near-setting sun. The sun finally disappeared down the horizon, and the sky turned black. Luna followed her sister into the sky, her own deep blue coat turning nigh invisible. The moon rose into the sky, a giant orb hanging low. Stars, twinkling and bright, appeared, at first a dozen, then more and more. 3 shooting stars streaked across the sky as day ended and night began. Danny held up his hand and waved. Beautiful. Thanks, Luna. He wiped his eyes and swung his wheelchair to face Pinkie Pie and wheeled himself over to her. He leaned forward and extended his hand. I hear you like pranks. A slight grin across his face. I like pranks. Surprise and I played a lot of pranks. Spike joined in too. Des flew over and landed next to Pinkie Pie. Hey, pranks! I love pranks too, she said, rubbing her hose together. She floated around Danny. Got any more embarrassing pictures of Luna and Celestia? Those are great! Danny said, turning around. Sir, maybe tomorrow? He clenched his mouth shut as his yawn took us by. It's been a long day for me. He cocked his head to his side. Probably for you too. Pinkie's right eye whined. Are you crazy? She said, hopping up to his lap. There's so much more to do. This party. It's over, Megan said. She looked at Megan. Pinkie, well, Sarah, but not all of us have got sugar for blood. And I don't want to strain Twilight any more than necessary once he teleports us back to Earth. She snapped her fingers. Speaking of late, excuse me. She walked up to Mike, leaned close, cupping a hand to his ear, whispering it. He leaned away, glancing at Twilight, and nodded, prompting Megan to kiss him again. Applejack let out a sigh. Well, as much as I like to say, Granny Smith needs to talk to me back at Sweet Apple Acres. She let the Fluttershy. Need somebody to talk with you back at your cottage? Fluttershy, silent through most of the conversations, nodded and smiled. Thank you very much, Applejack. She let out a sigh. Oh, I just hope Angel Bunny's not been waiting up for me. He could get very cranky if I stay out too late. Applejack rolled her eyes. Oh, dear, herd. Her eyes caught Mike as he tilted her chin up. Hey, Mike! Stay on for tomorrow? Mike raised his hand and thumbs up. No problem, Lazy. We can even talk about that mutual problem we noticed, you know? Applejack winked down. Gotcha! She leaned forward a bit and caught her eyes as Mike's hands. Say, what's that money anyhow? She raised her right foreleg and looked at her hoof. A thumb, that's good, right? Mike opened his mouth and simply nodded. Applejack and Fluttershy said their goodbyes before turning and trotting off, away from Everfree and back to Ponyville. Rainbow and Dash and Pinkie Pie soon followed, the former flying and the latter bouncing along. Sparkle spiked up as the bush lilies hopped around her and the other princess ponies. She narrowed her eyes and scanned the sky, finally focused on 3 bright globs slowly growing larger. It seems our ride will be here soon. She looked at Twilight and smiled faintly. It was a pleasure seeing you again. I knew you'd make her proud. Twilight's eyes widened. Wait, what? Her head darted around. Wait, make who proud? Any answer was cut off as three Pegasi towed chariots swooped down, touching down and trotting to a landing in front of the Princess Ponies. Cracker rolled disconnected from his harness and trotted up to Sparkle, dropping to one knee. Princess Sparkle! Liberty, Starburst, Primrose, Royal Blue is Rita. We are here to fly you back to Crystal Castle. He rose and walked back to each chariot, unlatching the ramp and letting it drop down. The Princess Ponies and Bush Lilies boarded, and Cracker rolled quickly, latched on each ramp once more, before hooking himself back up to his harness. Sparkle looked up to Twilight and smiled faintly. I'll tell you later, but I think you already know. She turned away as the Pegasi began galloping off, spreading her wings and taking to the sky. Twilight hopped up and down. No, I don't! Wait! Come back here! She galloped up at the chariots, but skidded to a halt as they flew off. She rose up and waved her legs. Princess Sparkle! Please! Megan ran up to her and dropped to her knees. She placed a hand on Twilight's back and rubbed it. Twilight? You alright? Twilight sighed. Yeah, but that was weird. She looked at Megan. Does he mean my mother? The original Twilight? She looked at Megan. What does he mean? Megan shrugged. Not sure at the moment, my Twilight, but I do have a question for you. She looked around and spotted Spike standing near Rarity. Would you and Spike like to sleep over at our house tonight? Twilight jumped into the air, whirling about. Really? Really? She leaned forward, threw her legs around Megan in a hug. A sleepover? Of course! I love sleepovers so much! She let go and galloped up past her to Spike. Spike, we're going back to the library to get ready for a sleepover! She suddenly stopped and leaned in close to her assistant. Spike, are you alright? Spike looked up at Twilight and sighed. Oh, actually, I can't. He looked up to Rarity, checked flushed slightly. Rarity and I were talking. A goofy grin crossed his face, but caught to his fist and continued. Ahem. The Green Dragon. It's my fault, he said, kicking at the dirt. And I want to make sure Ponyville's not threatened by it again. So I want to get those gemstones as soon as possible. Rarity spoke up. Spike and I were discussing things, and agreed to go out tomorrow at dawn to the gem fields and deliver those cards that nasty brute wanted. She looked at Spike and smiled. Spike even agreed to dig up an extra card for me for Sapphire Soul's next tour date. She reached out and gently touched Spike's arm, sending him spinning away. Such a darling little helper, wouldn't you say? Twilight's eyes followed Spike as he spun about, grabbing his arm where Rarity's hoof touched him. Her horn glowed and the dragon was suddenly enveloped by a violet wave of telekinetic energy, stopping his little dance. He floated over to Twilight, who regarded him. Spike, she began, that's very mature and thoughtful of you. She lowered her head and nestled him on her cheek. I'm very proud of you, my #1 assistant. Spike flinched slightly, but stayed at that spot. Oh, come on, Twilight, he said, scratching the back of his head. You're embarrassing me. Twilight chuckled and looked over her shoulder as Megan walked up. Megan, I'm sorry, but I can't attend the sleepover. She looked back to Spike. Spike's still a baby dragon, and it wouldn't be right for me to leave him alone like that. Megan nodded. No problem, Twilight. Rarity looked about. What? Why, this can't be! She muscled to Spike. Spike can spend the night at Carousel's boutique, Twilight. Spike's mouth stretched into a wider grin as he rubbed his claws together. You mean it, Rarity? He hopped up and down. Really? Twilight opened her mouth. But Rarity waved her off. I insist on it. I know how much you adore sleepovers, and it would be the highest selfishness to make you miss one. She looked up at Megan. Please make sure to take care of Twilight, dear. She was one of my best friends. Megan bit her lip and nodded. Twilight's horn glowed, and Spike floated over once more. Then at least let me get you to Carousel Boutique in a timely fashion. She looked up to Megan. I'll be back in a few minutes. Her horn suddenly flared as she, Spike, and Rarity vanished in a flash of light. Mike planted his hands on his hips and shook his head. This is the wildest day of my life. He looked at Danny. I met dragons today. Real, honest-to-God dragons. He barked out a laugh. Dragons! Dragons! Molly rolled her eyes. Yeah, Mike. Almost as odd as that honeymoon trip Danny and I sent you and Mega to. Remember Autobot City and the giant robots you took 200 pictures of? Wait. Mike and Megan went on a honeymoon to Autobot City? That has got to be one of the most awesome things ever. It brings up a few questions. Like, they have a resort part of Autobot City. I so gotta visit there. I really, note to self, if I ever get a dimensional hopping device, I will so find a way to make a small vacation trip to Autobot City. That is so awesome. Megan, have I ever told you how awesome you are? Mike shrugged. Yeah, come on, Molly. Dragons! He waved his hands about a grin. Dragons are dragons! What type of world do we live in where dragons outrank Dino Autobots? Danielle shook her head. Yeah, but the Autobots are cool too. That they are, Danielle! She walked up to Molly. Did you see any dragons in Dream Valley, Aunt Molly? Some unpublished work or something Mom hasn't written yet? Molly smiled at her niece. Oh, yeah. She pointed to Danny. Well, he's the expert among us. He and Spike tracked down a dragon game once. Danny leaned back and grunted. Oh, don't remind me about those boys. They were worse than those jerks that making fun of Ditsy. He snapped his fingers a few times. What, sticks and stones? Any response was cut short as Twilight popped back into existence, a small suitcase hovering beside her. She looked around, a small sheen of sweat on her brow. Sorry about that. She waved at everyone before, like, now gather around like before, just like before. Megan, Mike, Molly, Danny, Michelle, and Danielle all gathered up any items brought over with them in the morning, moved in close, and knelt down as far as they could near Twilight. The unicorn planted her hooves and grunted, her horn flaring with violet power. There was a bright and loud pop of light before all seven vanished. A blinding light flared from the either 6 humans. One unicorn suddenly appeared in the backyard of a 2-story house in Kentucky. Molly slept to the grass, looking up at the night sky. Oh, Dramamine, she mumbled. Next time, bring Dramamine. Megan leaned on Danny's wheelchair, rubbing her foreleg. It's easier at this time, but still sucks. She sucked in air, tried to stand up, or slipped back down. Danny, you alright? Danny leaned forward, arms resting on his sides and his head hanging low. Just fine, Megan. Now, the world must stop spinning. He raised his head slightly. Do any other unicorns know how to teleport? A lot did back in Dream Valley. Twilight groaned. Some do back in Camelot, but not around Ponyville. Sorry, everyone. Mike blinked several times and heaved himself to his feet. He wobbled a bit before gaining his balance and standing still. Okay, I think you should taste a few. Just a suggestion, mind you. He stood up straight and groaned. Twilight, you're alright? Twilight groaned. I want to go to bed, she mumbled, head resting on her forelegs. I'm alright, just so tired. Mike stepped over and slowly knelt down. He reached under her and picked her up, grunting. Ugh, you must be out of it more than I thought, he said. He walked over to Megan and Danny. Son, how are you? Megan planted both hands on the wheelchair's armrest and pushed herself to a vertical base. She cried out slightly, but remained standing. Yeah, fine. Michelle? Danielle? She said, wiping her head around, wobbling, almost back to her knees. Michelle and Danielle were standing side by side, arms around each other's shoulders as they slowly rose to their own feet. We're okay, Mom, Danielle said. Molly was soon standing too. Fine as well, she breathed in. Guest room, please? Megan nodded. No way am I sending you out like this. She looked down at Danny and waggled the figure out. Same goes for you, too. There's plenty of room and you know it. She looked down to Mike as he held Twilight. She reached down to brush her mane. Twilight, you okay? Twilight nodded, biting her lip even as a yawn escaped. Fine, she finally said. Yeah, just exhausted like last time. I'll get you upstairs, he said. He began walking to the porch. This might sound stupid, but you use a bed, right? He swallowed. The Ponies in My Little Horsey novel used to use beds, but his voice trailed off and blessed. Sorry, Twilight. Twilight giggled. Not a problem. And yes, I use a bed. Michelle stood aside as Mike opened the sliding door, one hand, and walked inside. No brushing, no makeup or hair colors or ghost stories? Her face failed. That's no sleepover! Daniel snored. I don't think we're in any condition for that, Michelle. She and her sister began walking to the house, but stopped in front of Megan. Good night, Mom, Daniel said, reaching out for a one-armed hug. Yeah, night, Mom, Michelle said, "I see too," hugged Megan. Megan returned each hug and gave her daughters a quick kiss on the cheek. "Get to bed," she called out to them as they went inside. She looked around at Molly and Danny and shook her head. "I still can't believe this." She let go of the armrest and walked up to the solidified rainbow. She pressed her head against it and pushed. "Equestria." She looked up to the sky and smiled. "Dream Valley, you made it." Molly walked over and placed a hand on Megan's shoulder. "Sis, you alright?" Megan glanced over her shoulder and nodded. "Yeah." She turned around and embraced Molly, hugging her. "I am now." She let go and walked up to Danny. "They made it." Danny grinned. "No doubt in my mind, Megan." He grabbed the wheels and spun about, rolling up to the ramp and onto the boards. He looked into the wheels and laughed. "Megan, they're glowing!" he said, pointing to the rims as they shone. He looked to the hole in the sky, nearly invisible in the darkness. "Luna!" he said, cupping his hands to his mouth. "Thank you!" Megan and Molly walked up. "Well done," Molly said. Megan nodded. "I think tomorrow will be just as fun."
"Sir, there's movement in the house."
The occupants of an unmarked van across the street from the Richards house stirred. One man, nearing 50, with wire-rimmed glasses and brown hair and streaks of gray, sat up. There was the tiniest bit of whirring from around his hips, knees, and ankles, then his legs moved. "Lights on and someone's home?" he quipped. The other occupant looked at the monitor at the side before nodding.
Yes, sir. Lights have just flickered on." He looked to the older man. "Move in now?"
He shook his head and leaned back. "Nope.
They just got back from across from that interdimensional bridge, and obviously too tired. Let them get to sleep before I go and talk to Mrs. Richards."
The other occupant hesitated before speaking.
"Sir, pardon me, but are you sure that's wise? We have no idea where they've been or what's on the other side."
He sat down on his seat.
"It took us too long to track that radio signal down, and it's only you and me here?"
The man nodded. He reached inside his coat pocket and pulled out his cell phone. He flipped it on and pressed some buttons before handing it over.
"Recognize this man?"
The other occupant took it over. He looked at the image of the man in his older style naval uniform, beard, and apparent purse on his seat.
"Hector Delgado?" He looked up. "As in Admiral Delgado of the 7th Fleet?"
The man nodded and reached out, taking the phone back and slipping it inside his pocket. "That's the one." He chuckled slightly. "He had some odd passages in his memoirs, particularly around 1982, when there were some similar sightings of unidentified objects in Kentucky airspace." He focused on his subordinate. 2 years before first contact, mind you." The occupant nodded.
"If it was hostile, they would have attacked then, you mean?"
He shrugged and leaned back. "Not sure." He reached in and pulled out a bag, pulling out a volume of My Little Horsey.
"But Admiral Delgado reported a pink flying pony. And what does Mrs. Richards write about?"
"Pink flying ponies?"
A smile at the man's features. "Precisely."
He put the book back. "So, ponies spotted around that time. Megan Richards lived in the area, still lives in the area, and has written about ponies." He paused. "And the radio station? K-Cult from Equestria. From what we've been able to get," he smiled, "ponies."
The other occupant nodded. "Makes sense, Mr. Chase."
He stood up and walked over to the driver's seat, sitting back down.
"Back here tomorrow, sir?"
Chip nodded. "Sounds good to me, Lieutenant." He looked out the window at the house. "I can hardly wait."